The white professor chased Thomas in the street. Then he made a sincere apology to Thomas, because just now, the professor found himself wronged his black assistant. He saw Thomas's notes, which recorded the whole process of the experiment in detail. Due to the professor's sincere apology, Thomas chose to forgive him. 13 years after that, the achievements of their research experiments together have influenced the entire medical community. The professor were also offered the opportunity to serve at Hopkins School of Medicine. It was originally an achievement of 2 people, only because Thomas was a black man, so he can only be a waiter on the spot. After returning home, the wife was angry. In the 13 years, she has been silently accompanying Thomas. She tried her best to help Thomas realize his dream, but now, they can only live in this narrow rental house. She originally thought that their lives would improve after Thomas's achievements, but she did not expect that her husband's name was not mentioned at the ceremony. Although Thomas is also full of grievances, but he knew that as long as he entered the door of Hopkins Medical School, the status quo will change one day. However, it's so easy for a black man to turn over. The next day, he traveled to Hopkins with the professor, but the security guard told him that black people were not allowed to enter through the gate. Thomas had to enter through the side door. Besides, he also suffered the disdainful eyes of other blacks. Even the director thought Thomas was a waiter. Let him go and help himself with a cup of coffee. Fortunately, not everyone is like this. A warm-hearted female doctor took Thomas, and they saw an incurable disease. This is a congenital heart disease. Blood cannot circulate normally in the body. This causes the skin to appear blue. Children can only relieve the pain by calling the knees. The first task Thomas and Professor came here was to conquer the disease. As soon as they received the task, they studied it all night. First of all, the first difficulty is to solve the problem of blockage of the aorta in the lungs. Thomas came up with the idea of bridging the main pipe with another pipe that could unblock the blood. This method can perfectly solve the problem of congestion. However, this is only theoretically feasible. In reality, the objects of their surgery are all babies. Their blood vessels are very small and brittle. Ordinary surgical tools are not good at all, and at that time, ventilators are not yet popular. Despite many difficulties, Thomas didn't want to give up. He worked overtime overnight. He made a customized surgical tool by relying on his carpentry skills. He also consulted a large number of medical books. A ventilator was designed. In this way, the equipment is enough. They first experimented with pet dogs. Through long-term training, Thomas has become very familiar with the structure of the heart. He can even perform surgery on dogs with his eyes closed. This scene was seen by other white doctors. They all praised him. They want to be Thomas's colleagues in the future. Despite the superb technology, but Thomas was often looked down upon at a meal because he has more food than others. He was verbally abused by the repairman. He was even mocked as a third-class worker. Thomas was curious about what a third-class worker was. He always thought that everyone's salary was the same. He didn't know the truth until he found the personnel department to inquire. It turns out that third-class workers are the lowest in the whole hospital. They get the same salary as the cleaners. It's only $50 a month. Thomas suddenly realized. He have worked hard here for more than 10 years. Stay up and work 18 hours a day. In exchange, the reward is only this. The more Thomas thought about it, the angrier he became. Choose to leave again. He thought it was all the professor's arrangement, but actually for Thomas's salary. The professor did not know. After learning the truth, the professor visited Thomas's house for the first time in 13 years, and gave Thomas a promotion. It also increased salary to $300 per month. Moreover, the salary that was reduced last year was also made up. Therefore, Thomas returned to the hospital to continue working. They successfully restored that disease in dogs, and can successfully cure the dog again. This means that their efforts of more than a decade have finally entered the clinical step. The professor finds the baby's parents. Communicate the details of the operation carefully. Parents were very satisfied after listening, and agreed to this clinical operation. But just the day before the surgery, the professor received a temporary notice that made him very angry.